The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 5, Herbs. Thereupon the Bhagavat addressed Mahakāshyapa and the other great disciples, saying, Splendid, splendid, O Kāshyapa! You have skillfully explained the real merit of the Tathagata. It is exactly as you have said. The Tathagata has immeasurable, unlimited, and incalculable merits. Thus, even in a period of immeasurable kotis of kalpas, you will never fully be able to explain all of his merits. O Kāshyapa, you should know that the Tathagata is the king of all the teaching. What he teaches is never false. He explains all the teaching using his wisdom and skillful means, and what he teaches leads everyone to the stage of omniscience. The Tathagata perceives the goal of all teachings and knows the underlying mental disposition of all sentient beings, perceiving all with no obstructions. He completely understands all teachings and displays omniscience to all sentient beings. O Kāshyapa, suppose in the great manifold cosmos there are mountains, rivers, valleys, and plains, where many kinds of grasses, trees, shrubs, and herbs of different names and colors grow. Dense clouds thoroughly cover this great manifold cosmos, and rain falls at the same time everywhere, moistening the small, medium, and large roots, stems, branches, and leaves of all the grasses, trees, shrubs, and herbs. The sizes of all the trees depend on whether their capacities are superior, mediocre, or inferior, and the rain falling from the same cloud makes them grow according to the nature of their various seeds. Flowers blossom in the same place, and fruit ripens in the same place, moistened by the same rain, yet there are differences among these grasses and trees. O Kāshyapa, you should know that the Tathagata is exactly like this. He appears in this world like a great overspreading cloud. His great voice resounds over the devas, humans, and asuras in the world, just as the great cloud thoroughly covers the great manifold cosmos. He declares to the assembly, I am the Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. At that time, innumerable thousands of myriads of kotis of sentient beings approached the Buddha and listened to his teaching. Then the Tathagata, perceiving the faculties of sentient beings, whether they are sharp or dull, diligent or idle, explains the teachings according to their capacities in a variety of immeasurable ways, gladdening and benefiting them all. Having heard his teaching, all of these beings are at peace in this world and are born into a good existence in the future. Through this they will receive peace of mind and be able to hear the teaching. Having already heard the teaching, they will become free from obstructions and be able to gradually enter the path to the Dharma according to their capacities. Just like the great cloud that rains upon all the grasses, trees, shrubs, and herbs, whose seeds are watered, and which grow according to their capacities, the Tathagata teaches the Dharma of one aspect and character. That is to say, the character of liberation, dispassion, and cessation, which ultimately leads to omniscience. Those sentient beings who hear, hold, and recite the teachings of the Tathagata and practice it accordingly will nevertheless not perceive the merit they have obtained. Why is this? Only the Tathagata knows the seed, character, disposition, and capacity of sentient beings. Only he knows what they contemplate, think, and practice, how they contemplate, think, and practice, what teachings they contemplate, think, and practice, and what teaching they obtain through what teaching. Only the Tathagata exactly perceives and knows without obstructions the various states in which sentient beings reside. It is just like the grasses, trees, shrubs, and herbs that do not know their own natures, whether they are superior, mediocre, or inferior. Yet the Tathagata knows the teachings of one aspect and character, the character of liberation, dispassion, cessation, complete nirvana, and eternal tranquility, which ultimately leads to emptiness. The Buddha knows this and perceives the aspirations of sentient beings. For this reason, in order to protect them, he does not immediately teach omniscience. O Kashyapa, it is a rare thing that all of you know that the Tathagata teaches according to your capacities, and that you believe and accept it. Why is this? Because the Dharma taught by all the Buddha Bhagavats, according to what is appropriate to sentient beings, is difficult to understand and difficult to know. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The King of the Dharma, the destroyer of delusive existence, appears in the world and, keeping in mind the aspirations of sentient beings, teaches the Dharma in various ways, according to the wishes of sentient beings. The Tathagata is greatly distinguished, and his wisdom is profound. He has been silent for a long time, and intentionally has not taught the essential in haste. Those who are wise will be well convinced when they hear it. Those who are not wise will have doubts and remain confused for a long time. That is why, O Kashyapa, the Tathagata teaches according to the capacities of sentient beings and enables them to attain the correct perspective by using various illustrations. O Kashyapa, you should know that it is as if a great cloud arises in the world and covers everything. This beneficent cloud contains moisture, and bright lightning flashes from it. The sound of its thunder shakes the earth afar and gladdens the people. It conceals the sun and cools the earth. The spreading cloud hangs so low as if it could be touched. Everywhere equal and immeasurable, the rain pours down and moistens the earth. Grasses, herbs, large and small trees, all kinds of crops, seedlings, sugarcane and grapes, growing in the depths of the mountains, in rivers, and in precipitous valleys, are all watered and completely nourished by the rain. The dry earth is moistened everywhere, and the herbs and trees grow up thickly. Out of this cloud the same rain waters these grasses, trees, and shrubs, each according to their capacities. All the trees, small, medium, or large, are able to grow in accordance with their capacities. The luster and colors of the roots, stems, branches, leaves, and flowers are all freshened by the same rain. Each of these, although receiving the same moisture, reaches a greater or lesser size in accordance with their different dispositions, characteristics, and natures. The Buddha is exactly like this. He appears in the world as a great cloud, which covers everything universally. Once appearing in this world, he illuminates and explains the essence of the teachings for the sake of sentient beings. The great seer, the Bhagavat, expounds this to the assembly of all the devas and humans. I am the Tathagata, the best of humans, I appear in the world to nourish sentient beings, just as the great cloud moistens all the withered trees. I cause everyone to be rid of suffering and attain ease of heart, worldly happiness, and the joy of nirvana. So, devas and humans, listen carefully. Come, all of you, and look at the highest one. I am the Bhagavat. No one is equal to me. I appear in this world to bring peace of mind to sentient beings and to teach the Dharma of immortality to the great assembly. This Dharma has a single flavor of liberation and nirvana. I expound its meaning with the same subtle voice, always making the Mahāyāna the subject of my illustrations. I see everywhere and regard all as equal. I have no feelings of like or dislike. For me, there is no this or that, nor do I have either love or hate. I have no attachments and make no distinctions, and so always teach the Dharma equally to all, and teach the same thing to one person as I teach to everyone else. I always teach the Dharma and nothing else. Going or coming, sitting or standing, I never tire of satisfying the world, just like the rain that gives nourishment universally. I tirelessly pour down the rain of the Dharma equally on those who are noble or humble, superior or inferior, who keep or break the precepts, who have good or bad conduct, right or wrong views, sharp or dull faculties. According to their power to understand, all sentient beings who hear my teaching dwell in various stages. Those living among humans, devas, noble emperors, Sakra, and Brahma kings are like the small herbs. Those who know the incorruptible Dharma, who are able to obtain nirvana, have the 6 transcendent powers, and have attained the 3 sciences. Those who live alone in mountain forests, always practicing meditation, and who attain the enlightenment of the Pratyeka Buddhas, are like the medium-sized herbs. Those who seek the stage of the Bhagavat, thinking that they will become Buddhas, and practice persistence and meditation, are like the large herbs. The heirs of the Buddhas who concentrate on the path of the Buddha, who always cultivate compassion within themselves, and know definitely without a doubt that they will become Buddhas, are like the small trees. Those who are comfortable with transcendent powers, who turn the irreversible wheel of the Dharma, and save innumerable hundreds of thousands of kotis of sentient beings, are the bodhisattvas, who are like the large trees. The Buddha's equal teaching is like the rain of one flavor. The sentient beings accept it according to their different capacities, just as the grasses and herbs each differently absorb the rain. The Buddha reveals the single teaching with illustrations, using skillful means, and explains it with various explanations. And yet it is just a drop in the ocean compared to the Buddha's wisdom. I pour down the rain of the Dharma, fulfilling the world, and the sentient beings practice the Dharma of one flavor, according to their capacities. Just as the shrubs, herbs, and trees flourish in accordance with their capacities, reaching a greater or lesser size, the teaching of the Buddhas is always of one flavor and fulfills the entire world. Anyone who practices it little by little obtains the fruit of the path. The bodhisattvas who are firm in wisdom, who completely understand the triple world and seek the highest vehicle are just like the flourishing small trees. Those who abide in meditation attain transcendent powers, listen to the teaching regarding the emptiness of every existence with great joy, and save sentient beings by emitting innumerable rays of light, are just like the flourishing large trees. In this way, O Kashyapa, the Dharma that the Buddha teaches is just like the great cloud that enriches human flowers with the rain of one flavor, so that each attains its fruits. O Kashyapa, you should know that I reveal the Buddha path, using various explanations and illustrations, and that this is my skillful means. All of the Buddhas are just like this. I will now teach the highest truth for your sake. There are no Shravakas who attain nirvana. What you practice is the Bodhisattva path, and if you practice step by step, you will all become Buddhas. Chapter 6. Predictions. At that time, after the Bhagavat had spoken these verses, he addressed the great assembly, proclaiming, "This disciple of mine, Mahakashyapa, in the future will be able to meet 300 myriads of kotis of Buddha Bhagavats, to whom he will pay homage, respect, veneration, and praise, and he will extensively expound the immeasurable great teachings of these Buddhas. In his last body he will become a Buddha named Rasmi Prabhasa, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. His world will be called Avabhasprapta, in the Kalpa called Mahavya. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 12 intermediate kalpas. The true Dharma will last in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas, and the semblance Dharma will also last for 20 intermediate kalpas. His world will be adorned, and there will be no dirt, shards, thorns, excrement, or other impurities. The earth will be level without irregularities, hollows, or hills. The earth will be made of lapis lazuli with jeweled trees in rows. Golden cords will line the borders of these roads, which will be scattered with precious flowers, and everywhere will be pure. In his world there will be immeasurable thousands of kotis of bodhisattvas, as well as innumerable Shravakas. All malice will be far removed, and even though Mara and his minions will be there, they will all protect the Buddha Dharma. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to explain the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. I tell you, O monks, that I see with the Buddha eye that Kashyapa in the future will become a Buddha after innumerable kalpas have passed. In the future he will meet and pay homage to 300 myriads of kotis of Buddha Bhagavats, and practice the pure path of discipline and integrity, seeking for the wisdom of the Buddhas. Having offered respect to the highest and best of humans, and having completely grasped the ultimate wisdom, he will become a Buddha while in his last body. His land will be pure. The earth will be made of lapis lazuli, and many jeweled trees will be in rows along roads bordered with golden cords, and those who see it will be gladdened. The air will be always filled with a pleasant fragrance, and many beautiful flowers will be strewn about. Various wonderful things will adorn this earth, which will be level, without hills or hollows. There will be an incalculable number of bodhisattvas there, who will have the power of self-control, be versed in transcendent powers, and who will preserve the sutras of the Mahāyāna taught by the Buddhas. The multitude of Shravakas, bearing their last bodies, free from corruption, heirs of the Dharma king, will also be unreckonable. Their number will be impossible to calculate even with the divine eye. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 12 intermediate kalpas. The true Dharma will last in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas, and the semblance Dharma will also last for 20 intermediate kalpas. Thus will things be with the Bhagavat Rasmi Prabhasa. At that time, Maha Maudgalyayana, Subhuti, and Mahakachayana were all charged with excitement, and with palms pressed together, they attentively gazed at the Bhagavat, never turning their eyes from him. They immediately spoke these verses in unison. O Bhagavat, great hero, king of the Dharma of the Sakyas, bestow the Buddha's words upon us out of your compassion for us. If, knowing the depths of our hearts, you give us your predictions, it will be like cooling our fevers by sprinkling us with the Dharma of immortality. It is as though someone coming from a country suffering from famine were suddenly to find a great king's feast spread before him, yet is stricken with doubt and does not venture to eat, until, being instructed by the king, he dares at last to do so. We are exactly like this. We have been constantly thinking about the faults of the inferior vehicle, and so we had no knowledge of the way to obtain the highest wisdom of the Buddha. Although we hear the Buddha's voice saying that we will become Buddhas, we still have doubt in our minds, as if we dare not eat the meal. If we receive the Buddha's prediction, it will immediately put us at ease. The Bhagavat, the great hero, always wants to put the world at ease, and so we entreat you to bestow upon us your predictions, as though to starving people waiting for permission to eat. Then the Bhagavat, knowing what lay in the thoughts of the great disciples, addressed the monks, saying, This Subhuti in the future will meet, respect, venerate, praise, and pay homage to 300 myriads of kotis of nayutas of Buddhas, and he will always practice the pure path of discipline and integrity, and complete the bodhisattva path. In his last body he will become a Buddha called Yasasketu, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. His land will be called Ratnasambhava, in the kalpa called Ratnavabhasa. The land will be even, and the earth will be made of crystal and adorned with jeweled trees. It will be without pits, pebbles, thorns, or the filth of excrement. The earth will be covered with precious flowers, and will be everywhere pure. The people in this world will all live in wonderful towers with jeweled terraces. The Shravakas, the disciples there, will be innumerable and limitless, beyond calculation and metaphor, and there will also be innumerable thousands of myriads of kotis of nayutas of bodhisattvas. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 12 intermediate kalpas. The true Dharma will last in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas, and the semblance Dharma will also last for 20 intermediate kalpas. This Buddha will always dwell in the air, teaching the Dharma for the multitude, and he will save incalculable bodhisattvas and Shravakas. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to explain the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. O monks, I shall now make something known to you. You should attentively listen to what I have to say. My great disciple Subhuti will become a Buddha called Yasasketu. He will pay homage to innumerable myriads of kotis of Buddhas, and following the Buddha's practice, he will gradually come to complete the great path. He will attain the 32 marks in his last body, and his form will be fine and beautiful, just like a jeweled mountain. His Buddha world will be ultimately pure. Of the sentient beings who see it, there will be none who do not rejoice. There, the Buddha will bring incalculable sentient beings to enlightenment. In the midst of his Dharma, there will be many bodhisattvas with keen faculties who turn the irreversible wheel of the Dharma. This world will always be graced with bodhisattvas. There will also be incalculable numbers of Shravakas. All of them will have perfected the 3 sciences, and the 6 transcendent powers will abide in the 8 liberations and have great dignity and virtue. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 12 intermediate kalpas. The true Dharma will last in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas, and the semblance Dharma will also last for 20 intermediate kalpas. Thereupon the Bhagavat addressed the monks, saying, I will now tell you that this Mahakacayana in the future will honor, respect, and pay homage to 8,000 kotis of Buddhas with offerings. After the parinirvanas of these Buddhas, he will erect stupas, each of which will be 1,000 yojanas in height and 500 yojanas in both width and depth. These stupas will all be constructed of the 7 precious treasures, gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mother of pearl, agate, pearls, and rubies. He will pay homage to these stupas with many flowers and necklaces, fragrant ointments, scented powders, burning incense, canopies, flags, and banners. After this, he will also pay homage to 2 myriads of kotis of Buddhas in exactly the same way, and having done so, he will perfect the bodhisattva path and become a Buddha called Jambunadabhasa, a Tathagata Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. O monks, listen carefully. What I shall say is nothing but the truth. This Kaccayana will pay homage to the Buddhas with various wonderful offerings. After the parinirvanas of these Buddhas, he will erect stupas constructed of the 7 precious treasures, and offer respect to their relics with flowers and incense. In his last body, he will attain the wisdom of the Buddha, and will achieve complete enlightenment. His world will be pure, and he will save incalculable myriads of kotis of sentient beings. He will be venerated in the 10 directions. There is nothing that surpasses this Buddha's ray of light, so this Buddha will be called Jambunadabhasa. There will be innumerable, uncountable bodhisattvas and Shravakas gracing this world, who have shaken free from every state of being. Thereupon the Bhagavat again addressed the assembly, saying, I will now tell you that this Mahama Udgalyayana will respect, venerate, and pay homage to 8,000 Buddhas with various offerings. And after the parinirvanas of these Buddhas, he will erect stupas, each of which will be 1,000 yojanas in height, and 500 yojanas in both depth and width. These stupas will be constructed with the 7 precious treasures: gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mother of pearl, agate, pearls, and rubies. He will offer them various flowers, necklaces, fragrant ointments, scented powders, burning incense, canopies, flags, and banners. After this, he will pay homage to 200 myriads of kotis of Buddhas in exactly the same way, and will become a Buddha called Tamala Patra Chandanaganda, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teachers of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. His world will be called Manobirama, in the Kalpa called Ratiprapurna. The land will be level. The earth will be made of crystal, adorned with jeweled trees, and strewn with flowers of pearls. It will be pure everywhere, and those who see it will rejoice. There will be many devas and humans, innumerable bodhisattvas and shravakas. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 24 intermediate kalpas. The true Dharma will last in this world for 40 intermediate kalpas, and the semblance Dharma will also last for 40 intermediate kalpas. Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on this meaning, spoke these verses. This disciple of mine, Mahama Udgalyayana, having abandoned this body, will meet 8,000 and then 200 myriads of kotis of Buddha Bhagavats. For the sake of the Buddha path, he will pay them homage and respect them, and always practice holy conduct, brahmacharya, of discipline and integrity in the presence of these Buddhas. He will uphold the Buddha Dharma for immeasurable kalpas. After the parinirvanas of these Buddhas, he will erect stupas constructed with the 7 precious treasures, on which golden banners will be long displayed. He will pay homage to these stupas of the Buddhas with flowers, incense, and music. After having mastered the bodhisattva path step by step in a land called Manobirama, he will become a Buddha called Tamala Patra Chandanaganda. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 24 intermediate kalpas. He will always expound the Buddha path for the sake of devas and humans. There will be countless shravakas, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, who will have perfected the 3 sciences and 6 transcendent powers, and have great dignity and virtue. There will be innumerable bodhisattvas, resolute and persevering, who will never turn away from the wisdom of the Buddhas. After the parinirvana of this Buddha, the true Dharma will last for 40 intermediate kalpas, and the semblance Dharma will also be like this. All of my disciples, 500 in number, who are endowed with dignity and virtue, will also receive my prediction. In the future, they will all become Buddhas. I will now explain the relationships that you and I have formed in the past lives. All of you, listen carefully. Chapter 7. The Apparitional City. The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, Once upon a time, immeasurable, limitless, inconceivable, incalculable kalpas ago, there was a Buddha called Mahabhijna Bibita Tathagata, an arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. His land was called Susambhav, in the kalpa called Maharupa. O monks, it has been an extremely long time since this Buddha entered nirvana. Suppose there were a man who ground the earth of the entire great manifold cosmos into powdered ink, and he were then pass through 1,000 worlds to the east, where he let fall a single particle of ink, the size of a speck of dust. After passing through another 1,000 worlds, he let fall another particle, and he continued in this way until he had completely used all the ink. What do you think about this? Do you think that a mathematician or a mathematician's pupil would be able to count those worlds to the last particle or not? O Bhagavat, no, they could not. O monks, suppose that all the worlds this man passed through, whether letting fall a particle or not, were all ground into dust, and one speck of this dust were equal to one kalpa. The time since the parinirvana of this Buddha surpasses this number by immeasurable, limitless, incalculable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. And through the power of the Tathagata's wisdom and insight, I can see his distant past as if it were today. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. I recall that in the past, immeasurable kalpas ago, there was a Buddha, the most honored among two-legged beings, called Mahabhijna Jnana Bibhu. Suppose there was a man who vigorously ground up in its entirety the earth of the great manifold cosmos and turned it all to powdered ink. After passing through 1,000 worlds, he let fall one particle of ink, and in this way he continued to let fall particles until he had used up all the ink. If all these worlds, those where he let fall a particle, and those where he did not, were to be ground into specks of dust, and one speck of dust were equal to a single kalpa, their number would be surpassed by the number of kalpas that have passed since that Buddha's parinirvana. So incalculable has this number of kalpas been. With the Tathagata's unobstructed wisdom, I know of these bodhisattvas and shravakas, and the parinirvana of this Buddha. It is as if I see his parinirvana today. O monks, you should know that with the knowledge of the Buddha, which is pure and subtle, incorrupted and without obstructions, I perceive what happened immeasurable kalpas ago. The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, the lifespan of this Buddha, Mahabhijna Jnana Bibhu, was 540 myriads of kotis of nayutas of kalpas. When that Buddha was seated on the terrace of enlightenment, after having defeated Mara's army, he tried to obtain highest complete enlightenment, yet the Dharma of the Buddhas did not appear to him. In this way, even after having sat cross-legged for 1 to 10 intermediate kalpas, undisturbed in body and mind, the Dharma of the Buddhas still did not appear to him. At that time, a group of 33 devas first prepared for that Buddha a lion seat 100 yojana in height under the Bodhi tree, for this Buddha was to attain highest complete enlightenment on that seat. As soon as the Buddha sat on this seat, all the Brahmas rained down various heavenly flowers for 100 yojanas around. Periodically a fragrant breeze would blow away the withered flowers, and they would rain down fresh ones. In this way, they unceasingly paid homage to the Buddha for a full 10 intermediate kalpas, raining down these flowers continuously until his parinirvana. The devas of the 4 quarters constantly struck heavenly drums to honor the Buddha, and in the same way all the other devas made divine music for a full 10 intermediate kalpas until his parinirvana. O monks, the Dharma of the Buddhas appeared to the Buddha Mahabhijna Jnana after 10 intermediate kalpas had passed, and he attained highest complete enlightenment. This Buddha had 16 children before he renounced household life. The eldest child was called Janakara. Each child had various kinds of rare toys. After hearing about their father's attainment of highest complete enlightenment, they all put aside their toys and set out for where the Buddha was. Weeping sad tears, their mothers saw them off. Their grandfather, the wheel-turning sage king, went with them, along with 100 ministers and hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of people. When they arrived at the terrace of enlightenment, they all wanted to approach the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana and pay homage and respect, honor and praise him. They came up to him and bowed until their foreheads touched his feet, and then circled around him. Attentively, with palms pressed together, they gazed at the Bhagavat and spoke these verses. The Bhagavat of great virtuous dignity, in order to bring sentient beings to the path, after immeasurable kotis of kalpas and perfecting all the vows, finally became a Buddha. How wonderful! There is nothing more auspicious. The Bhagavat is truly extraordinary. He sat tranquil for 10 intermediate kalpas with his body and limbs immobile. His mind was always calm and never distracted. He has attained ultimate eternal tranquility and is firmly established in the incorruptible Dharma. Now, seeing the Bhagavat who has serenely attained the Buddha path, we receive benefit and celebrate with great joy. Sentient beings ever suffering are blind and without a teacher. They are unaware of the path that leads to the extinction of suffering, ignorant of the way to seek liberation. From one blind state to the next, those in the troubled states of being daily increase, while the devas decrease. They never hear the Buddha's name. Now the Buddha has attained the highest serene and incorruptible Dharma. Thus we and the devas and humans shall obtain the greatest benefit. Therefore we all bow and pay homage to the highest Lord. At that time, the 16 princes, having praised the Buddha in verse, requested that the Bhagavat turn the wheel of the Dharma, saying, O Bhagavat, teach the Dharma, put all the devas and people at ease, and benefit them through your compassion. They spoke further in verse, saying, O hero of the world, the one who has no equal, who is adorned with 100 merits and has attained the highest wisdom, we entreat you to teach for the sake of the world, and bring us and all the other sentient beings to the path. Illuminate and reveal this wisdom so that we may attain it. If we can become Buddhas, so can the other sentient beings. The Bhagavat knows the deep-seated intentions of sentient beings and the paths they practice, as well as the power of their wisdom. May the Bhagavat, being wholly aware of their positive intentions, accumulated merits and past deeds, turn the highest wheel of the Dharma. The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, "When the Buddha Mahabhijna Jnana Bibi attained highest complete enlightenment, 500 myriads of kotis of Buddha worlds in each of the 10 directions quaked in 6 ways. The dark places between the worlds, where the rays of the sun and moon had been unable to penetrate, were brightly illuminated. The sentient beings there were able to see each other and said, 'How is it possible that sentient beings have suddenly appeared here?' Moreover, those worlds, from the heavenly palaces up to the palaces of the Brahmas, also quaked in 6 ways. The great ray of light shone everywhere, filling the worlds with a radiance that surpassed the light of the Devas. At that time, the palaces of Brahmas and the 500 myriads of kotis of worlds in the east were illuminated twice as brightly as usual. The great Brahmas each thought, 'The palaces are illuminated now as never before. What has caused this phenomenon?' At that time, all of the great Brahmas approached each other to discuss this matter. In that assembly, there was a great Brahma called Sava Sattvarata, who spoke to the assembly of Brahmas in verse, saying, 'This illumination of our palaces has never occurred before. Let us find out the reason for this. This great ray of light has illuminated the 10 directions. Has a Deva of great merit been born, or has a Buddha appeared in the world?' Then the great Brahmas of the 100 myriads of kotis of worlds went toward the west with their palaces to inquire about this phenomenon, carrying heavenly flowers in their robes. They saw the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana Bibu on the terrace of enlightenment, sitting on the lion seat under the Bodhi tree. He was respectfully surrounded by humans and such non-humans as Devas, Naga kings, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and Mahoragas. They also saw the 16 princes requesting the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma. Then the great Brahmas bowed until their foreheads touched the Buddha's feet, and then circled around him 100,000 times. They scattered heavenly flowers on the Buddha, and the flowers they scattered were piled as high as Mount Sumeru. They also paid homage to the Buddha's Bodhi tree, which was 10 yojanas in height. Having reverently offered him flowers, they presented their palaces to the Buddha, saying, 'Please accept the palaces we now offer you, and benefit us through your compassion.' Then the great Brahmas spoke these verses wholeheartedly and in unison before the Buddha. The Bhagavat, who is truly extraordinary, is extremely difficult to meet. He is endowed with immeasurable qualities and seeks to protect all. The great teacher of devas and humans feels compassion for the world and causes all sentient beings in the 10 directions to be universally benefited. All of us who have come from 500s of myriads of kotis of worlds have given up the pleasure of deep meditation in order to pay homage to the Buddha. To the Bhagavat we now present our palaces, which the merits of our previous lives have caused to be completely adorned. Please accept them through your compassion." Thereupon, having praised the Buddha in verse, the great Brahmas each said this: "O Bhagavat, we entreat you to turn the wheel of the Dharma, open the path to Nirvana, and guide sentient beings to it." Then the great Brahmas attentively spoke these verses in unison: "O hero of the world, the most honored among two-legged beings, we entreat you to expound the Dharma and bring the suffering beings to the path through the power of your great compassion." Then the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana silently consented. "Furthermore, O monks, the great Brahmas in the 500 myriads of kotis of worlds in the southeast saw their palaces illuminated with a ray of light that had never occurred before. Joyful and ecstatic, they were struck with wonder. They assembled to discuss this matter. At that time there was a great Brahma called Adimatra Karunika. He spoke to the assembly of Brahmas in verse, saying, 'What is the reason that this phenomenon has appeared? Even since the olden times, this illumination of all of our palaces is without precedent. Has a Deva of great merit been born, or has a Buddha appeared in the world? Since we have never seen such a phenomenon, we should seek thoroughly for its source. Even if we have to pass through thousands of myriads of kotis of worlds, we should seek together for the source of this light. Possibly a Buddha has appeared in the world to save suffering sentient beings.' Thereupon 500 myriads of kotis of great Brahmas went toward the northwest with their palaces, carrying heavenly flowers in their robes, to inquire about this phenomenon. They saw the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana on the terrace of enlightenment, sitting on the lion seat under the Bodhi tree. He was respectfully surrounded by humans and such non-humans as Devas, Naga kings, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and Mahoragas. They also saw the 16 princes requesting the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma. Then all the Brahmas bowed until their foreheads touched the Buddha's feet, and then circled around him 100,000 times. They scattered heavenly flowers on the Buddha, and the flowers they scattered were piled up as high as Mount Sumeru. They also paid homage to the Buddha's Bodhi tree. Having reverently offered the Buddha flowers, they presented their palaces to him, saying, 'Please accept the palaces we now offer you, and benefit us through your compassion.' Then the great Brahmas spoke these verses wholeheartedly and in unison before the Buddha. 'O great sage, Deva of Devas, we now bow to the one whose voice is as beautiful as the Kalavinka birds, and who has compassion for sentient beings.' The Bhagavat is truly extraordinary, and can only be seen once in an extremely long time. 180 kalpas have passed away fruitlessly, and no Buddhas have appeared during this time. The worlds have been filled with people in the 3 troubled states of being, and the Devas have increased. The Buddha has now appeared in the world to be the eyes of sentient beings. He will be the refuge of the world and will seek to protect all. As the father of sentient beings, he is the compassionate benefactor. Because of our past merits, we now have the good fortune to be able to meet the Bhagavat." Thereupon, having praised the Buddha in verse, the great Brahmas said this: "O Bhagavat, we entreat you to turn the wheel of the Dharma out of your compassion for all and save sentient beings." Then the great Brahmas spoke these verses wholeheartedly and in unison. "O great sage, make us very happy. Turn the wheel of the Dharma, reveal the character of all Dharmas, save the suffering beings. If sentient beings hear this Dharma, they will attain the path and be born as Devas. The beings in the troubled states of being will decrease, while those who persevere in the good will increase." Then the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana silently consented. Furthermore, O monks, the great Brahmas in the 500s of thousands of kotis of lands in the south each saw their palaces illuminated as they had never been before. Joyful and ecstatic, they were struck with wonder. They immediately assembled to discuss this matter together, asking, "Why have our palaces been illuminated?" At that time there was a great Brahma called Suddharma. He spoke to the assembly of Brahmas in verse, saying, "Our palaces are illuminated with brilliant light. There must be a reason for this, and we should seek its source. We have not seen such a phenomenon during the past hundreds of thousands of kalpas. Has a deva of great merit been born? Or has a Buddha appeared in the world?" Thereupon 500 myriads of kotis of great Brahmas went toward the north with their palaces to inquire about this phenomenon, carrying heavenly flowers in their robes. They saw the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana Bibhu on the terrace of enlightenment, sitting on the lion seat under the Bodhi tree. He was respectfully surrounded by humans, and such non-humans as devas, naga kings, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and Mahoragas. They also saw the 16 princes requesting the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma. Then all the great Brahmas bowed until their foreheads touched the Buddha's feet, and then circled around him 100,000 times. They scattered heavenly flowers on the Buddha, and the flowers they scattered piled up as high as Mount Sumeru. They also paid homage to the Buddha's Bodhi tree. Having revered the Buddha with flowers, they offered their palaces to him, saying, "Please accept the palaces we now offer you, and benefit us through your compassion." Then the great Brahmas spoke these verses wholeheartedly and in unison before the Buddha. "O destroyer of afflictions, it is extremely difficult to meet a Bhagavat. We are now meeting the Buddha for the first time, since 130 kalpas have passed away. Please satisfy sentient beings who are suffering from hunger and thirst by pouring down the rain of the Dharma. O one possessed of immeasurable wisdom, whom we have never met before, today we have encountered the one who appears as rarely as the Udumbara flower blooms. Our palaces are beautifully adorned by this ray of light. We entreat you to accept them out of your great compassion." Thereupon, having praised the Buddha in verse, the great Brahmas said this: "O Bhagavat, we request that you turn the wheel of the Dharma, thus causing the Devamaras, Brahmas, Shramanas, and Brahmins to be at ease, and saving them all." Then the great Brahmas spoke these verses wholeheartedly and in unison. "We entreat you, O best of devas and humans, to turn the wheel of the highest Dharma. Beat the drum of the great Dharma. Blow the conch of the great Dharma. Rain the rain of the great Dharma everywhere, and save incalculable sentient beings. We have all come to request that you expound it with your profound voice." Then the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jnana Bibhu silently consented. The very same thing happened in the worlds from the southwestern to the lower regions, as well as those in other directions. Then all the great Brahmas in the 500 myriads of kotis of lands in the upper region saw their palaces illuminated with a light that had never existed before. Joyful and ecstatic, they were struck with wonder. They immediately assembled to discuss this matter together, asking, "Why have our palaces been illuminated?" There was a great Brahma in that assembly called Sikhin. He spoke to the assembly of Brahmas in verse, saying, Why have all our palaces been brightly illuminated with this light of virtuous dignity and adorned in this unprecedented way? We have never seen such a wonderful phenomenon. Has a Deva of great merit been born, or has a Buddha appeared in the world? Thereupon, 500 myriads of kotis of great Brahmas went into the lower regions with their palaces to inquire about this phenomenon, carrying heavenly flowers in their robes. They saw the Tathagata Mahabhichna Jnana Bibhu on the terrace of enlightenment, sitting on the lion seat under the Bodhi tree. He was respectfully surrounded by humans, and such non-humans as Devas, Naga kings, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and Maharagas. They also saw the 16 princes requesting the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma. Then all the great Brahmas bowed until their foreheads touched the Buddha's feet, and then circumambulated him 100,000 times. They scattered heavenly flowers on the Buddha, and the flowers they scattered were piled up as high as Mount Sumeru. They also paid homage to the Buddha's Bodhi tree. Having reverently offered him flowers, they presented their palaces to the Buddha, saying, "Please accept the palaces we now offer you, and benefit us through your compassion." Then all the great Brahmas spoke these verses wholeheartedly and in unison before the Buddha. How splendid it is to meet the Buddhas, the great sages who deliver the world, who diligently work to get sentient beings out of the hell of the triple world. The best of devas and humans, who has universal wisdom, out of compassion for everyone, opens the gate to immortality and extensively saves all. Since olden times, immeasurable kalpas have passed away in vain without the presence of the Buddha. In the time before the Bhagavat appears, the 10 directions are in constant darkness. Those in the 3 troubled states of being increase, and the asuras also flourish. The devas decrease all the more, and when they die, many of them fall into those troubled states. Having never heard the teaching from the Buddha, all of them always behave badly, and their physical power and wisdom decreases. Because of their erring deeds, they lose happiness, or any notion of it. Abiding in the teaching of false views, they know nothing of good conduct. Deprived of the Buddha's inspiration, they always fall into the troubled states of being. After a very long time, the Buddha has now appeared as the eye of the world. It is out of compassion for sentient beings that the Buddha appears in the world. Transcending everything, the Buddha has attained complete enlightenment. We are all extremely happy, and all the other beings joyfully acclaim this unprecedented experience. All our palaces are beautifully adorned by this ray of light. We now offer them to the Bhagavat. Please accept them out of your compassion. By the universal transference of this merit, may we and all other beings together attain the Buddha path. Thereupon the 500 myriads of kotis of great Brahmas, having praised the Buddha in verse, each spoke to him, saying, "O Bhagavat, we strongly entreat you to turn the wheel of the Dharma, give ease to many, and enable them to attain the path." Then all the great Brahmas spoke these verses. "O Bhagavat, turn the wheel of the Dharma, beat the drum of the Dharma of immortality, save the suffering sentient beings, and reveal the path to nirvana. We strongly entreat you to accept our request, and out of your compassion, and with your wonderful voice, expound the Dharma that you have perfected over immeasurable kalpas. We strongly entreat you to accept our request, and out of your compassion, and with your wonderful voice, expound the Dharma that you have perfected over immeasurable kalpas. And then the Tathagata Mahabhijna Jananabhibu acceded to the request made by all the great Brahmas from the 10 directions and the 16 princes. He then immediately turned 3 times the Dharma wheel of 12 spokes that no Shramanas, Brahmans, Devamaras, Brahmas, or any other being in the world could turn. He taught, "This is suffering. This is the origination of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. And this is the path that leads to the cessation of suffering," i.e., the 4 noble truths. He also extensively taught the Dharma of the 12-linked chain of dependent origination, saying, "Conditioned states are dependent on ignorance. Consciousness is dependent on conditioned states. Name and form are dependent on consciousness. The 6 sense fields are dependent on name and form. Contact is dependent on the 6 sense fields. Feelings are dependent on contact. Craving is dependent on feelings. Grasping is dependent on craving. Becoming is dependent on grasping. Birth is dependent on becoming. And old age, illness, death, anxiety, sorrow, suffering, and distress are dependent on birth. When ignorance ceases, then conditioned states cease. When conditioned states cease, then consciousness ceases. When consciousness ceases, then name and form cease. When name and form cease, then the 6 sense fields cease. When grasping ceases, then becoming ceases. When becoming ceases, then birth ceases. When birth ceases, then old age, illness, death, anxiety, sorrow, suffering, and distress cease." When the Buddha explained this Dharma to the great assembly of the Devas and humans, at that time 600 myriads of kotis, of nayutas, of people, because they were not attached to any existent thing, became free of all corruption. All of them perfected profound meditations, the 3 sciences, the 6 transcendent powers, and were endowed with the 8 liberations. When he taught the Dharma for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th time, thousands of myriads of kotis, of nayutas, of sentient beings, equal to the sands of the Ganges River, who were not attached to any existent thing, became free of all corruption. Innumerable, immeasurable, incalculable Shravakas followed in their turn. At that time, the 16 princes, who were still young, renounced household life and became Shramaneras. All their faculties were sharp, and their wisdom was penetrating. They had paid homage to hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas, practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity, and sought highest complete enlightenment. They all spoke to the Buddha, saying, "O Bhagavat, all of these immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of Shravakas of great merit have all attained perfection. O Bhagavat, you should also expound the teaching of highest complete enlightenment to us. Hearing it, we shall all practice it. O Bhagavat, we aspire for the wisdom and insight of the Tathagata. The Buddha himself knows what is deep in our minds." At that time, 8 myriads of kotis of people in the assembly who served the noble emperor saw the 16 princes renounce household life and appealed to the emperor to allow their own renunciation. The emperor immediately gave his permission. Then the Buddha accepted the request of the Shramaneras. After 20,000 kalpas had passed, he taught to the fourfold assembly this Mahāyāna Sutra called the Lotus Sutra, the instruction for bodhisattvas and treasured lore of the Buddhas. After the Buddha taught this sutra, all the 16 Shramaneras preserved, recited, and understood it in order to achieve highest complete enlightenment. When the Buddha taught this sutra, all the 16 Shramaneras, the bodhisattvas, completely accepted it. There were also some among the Shravakas who believed it, but all the other thousands of myriads of kotis of sentient beings became confused. The Buddha continuously taught this sutra for 8,000 kalpas without stopping. After teaching this sutra, he immediately entered a quiet place and abided in meditation for 84,000 kalpas. At that time, each of the 16 Shramaneras, the bodhisattvas, knowing that the Buddha had entered the quiet place and was abiding tranquilly in meditation, ascended the Dharma seat and extensively taught and explained the Lotus Sutra to the fourfold assembly for 84,000 kalpas. Each of them saved 600 myriads of kotis of nayutas of sentient beings, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. By revealing and teaching it, they gladdened these sentient beings and awoke in them the thought of highest complete enlightenment. Having arisen from samadhi after 84,000 kalpas had passed, the Buddha Mahabhichna Jnana Bibhu approached the Dharma seat and sat down with complete mindfulness. He addressed everyone in the great assembly, saying, "These 16 Shramaneras, bodhisattvas, are extraordinary. All their faculties are sharp, and their wisdom is penetrating. In times past they have paid homage to immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas, and have constantly practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity under them. They preserved the wisdom of the Buddhas and revealed it to sentient beings, causing them to enter into it. All of you should approach and pay them homage again and again. Why is this? If there are any Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and bodhisattvas who are able to believe and preserve the teaching in this sutra, expounded by these 16 bodhisattvas, and not disparage it, they will all attain the wisdom of the Tathagata, highest complete enlightenment." The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, "These 16 bodhisattvas always willingly taught this Lotus Sutra. Each bodhisattva has inspired 600 myriads of kotis of nayutas of sentient beings, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. In life after life, they remained with these bodhisattvas, and hearing this teaching from them, they believed and understood. For this reason, they were able to meet 4 myriads of kotis of Buddha Bhagavats during a period uninterrupted up to the present. O monks, I shall now tell you that these 16 Shramaneras, disciples of that Buddha Mahabhichna Jnana Bibhu, have now attained highest complete enlightenment, and presently teach the Dharma in the lands of the 10 directions. There are immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of bodhisattvas and Shravakas who have become their attendants. 2 of these Shramaneras have become Buddhas in the East. One is called Akshobhya, in the land called Abhirati, and the other is called Merukuta. In the southeast there are 2 Buddhas. One is called Simhaghosa, and the other is called Simhadvaja. In the south there are 2 Buddhas called Akasa Pratishta and Nitya Pariniruta. There are also 2 Buddhas in the southwest. One is called Indradvaja, and the other is called Brahmadvaja. In the West, there are two Buddhas called Amiteus and Sarvaloka Dhatu Padra Odvega Pratyutirna. There are two Buddhas in the Northwest. One is called Tamalapatra Chandanaga Dabijna. The other is called Merukalpa. In the north, there are two Buddhas. One is called Mega Svaradipa, and the other is called Mega Svararaja. In the northeast, there is a Buddha called Savaloka Baya Chambita Dvadvamsanakara. And the 16th one is myself, Buddha Shakyamuni, who in this Saha world achieved highest complete enlightenment. O monks, when we were Shramaneras, each of us inspired immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of sentient beings, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. Those sentient beings who heard the teaching from me attained highest complete enlightenment. There are sentient beings who still abide in the stage of a Shravaka, and whom I will inspire to attain highest complete enlightenment. By means of this teaching, they will gradually enter the Buddha path. Why is this? The wisdom of the Tathagatas is hard to believe and hard to understand. Those incalculable sentient beings, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, who were inspired at that time, were you, O monks, and those disciples who will be Shravakas in the future after my parinirvana. After my parinirvana, there will be disciples who will not hear this sutra, and will neither know nor understand the bodhisattva practice. Yet through the merit they have acquired, the thought of extinction will awake in them, and they will enter parinirvana. I will become a Buddha in another land with a different name. Although the idea of extinction has awoken in these disciples, and they have entered parinirvana, in that land they will still seek the wisdom of the Buddhas, and will then be able to hear this sutra. They can obtain parinirvana only through the Buddha vehicle. There are no other vehicles except the one taught through the skillful means of the Tathagatas. O monks, when the Tathagata realizes that the time of his parinirvana is approaching, knowing that the assembly is pure, firm in belief and understanding, has penetrated the teaching of emptiness, and has deeply entered meditation, he will then gather the assembly of bodhisattvas and shravakas together and teach this sutra to them. In this world there is no second vehicle through which one can attain parinirvana. Only through the single Buddha vehicle can one attain it. You should know, O monks, that the Tathagata, through skillful means, deeply penetrates the dispositions of sentient beings. Knowing their inclination toward the inferior teachings, and that they are deeply attached to the desires of the five senses, he teaches nirvana for their sake. If they listen, they will accept it. Suppose in a desolate, fearful place there were a dangerous road, 500 yojanas long. There is a large group that wants to travel along this road to reach a place where there is great treasure. They have a leader who is wise and penetrating, and who knows the passable and impassable parts of this dangerous road very well. Although he wants to guide these people past the danger, they become exhausted along the way. Addressing the leader, they say, "We are extremely tired and frightened. We cannot go any further. We are still far away from our destination, and we want to turn back." The leader, knowing many skillful means, thinks, "These people are to be pitied. How could they want to turn back and abandon the great treasure?" After thinking this, the leader, through his skillful means, magically creates a city 300 yojanas away along the dangerous road. He addresses the people, saying, "Do not be frightened. Do not turn back. You may now stay in this great city and be at your leisure. If you enter this city, you can be comfortable and at ease. Once you are able to go on and reach the treasure site, then you can depart once more." Then the exhausted people rejoice greatly and praise this unprecedented experience, saying, "We are now free of this evil road and will be comfortable and at ease." Then they proceed to the apparitional city and enter it. They believe that their hardships are over and feel at ease. Then the leader realizes that they are rested and their fatigue has gone. He immediately makes the apparitional city vanish and says to the people, "All of you, come along. The treasure site is near. I made that great apparitional city only in order to let you rest." O monks, the Tathagata is exactly like this. Now for your sake he has become a great leader who knows the long, dangerous, and evil road of birth, death, and desire's confusion. You should leave it and be saved. If sentient beings hear only about the single Buddha vehicle, they will then want neither to see nor approach a Buddha. They will think that the Buddha path is long and attainable only after enduring severe and protracted suffering. The Buddha, knowing their minds, knowing that they are weak-willed and of lowly aspiration, teaches them the two nirvanas through skillful means, in order to let them rest halfway to the goal. If there are sentient beings who abide in either of these two stages, the Tathagata immediately teaches, "What you have accomplished is not complete. The stage you abide in is close to the wisdom of the Buddhas. You should observe and consider that the nirvana you have obtained is not the true one. It is only through the power of the Tathagata's skillful means that the single Buddha vehicle is explained as three." The Buddha is just like that leader who conjured a great apparitional city to let the people rest. Knowing that they were rested, he addressed them, saying, "The treasure site is near. This city is not real. It is only my invention." Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The Buddha Mahabhijna Jananabibhu sat on the terrace of enlightenment for 10 kalpas, but still the Dharma of the Buddhas did not appear to him, and he did not attain the Buddha path. The Devas, Naga kings, Asuras, and others constantly rained down heavenly flowers in order to pay homage to that Buddha. The Devas beat heavenly drums and played various kinds of music. The fragrant winds blew the withered flowers away, and then they rained down fresh, beautiful ones. After 10 intermediate kalpas had passed, he then attained the Buddha path, and all the devas and humans became joyful and ecstatic. The 16 princes of that Buddha, surrounded by thousands of myriads of kotis of attendants, came to the place where the Buddha was. Having bowed until their foreheads touched his feet, they requested him to turn the wheel of the Dharma, saying, "O noble lion, fill us and everyone else with the rain of the Dharma." It is extremely difficult to meet a Bhagavat, since he appears only once in a very long time. To get the attention of the beings, the Buddha shook the entire world. The palaces of the Brahmas and the 500 myriads of kotis of lands in the east were illuminated as never before. All of the Brahmas, seeing this phenomenon, came to the place where the Buddha was. They reverently scattered flowers and offered him their palaces. Requesting the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma, they praised him in verse. The Buddha knew that the right time had not yet arrived, and although he had been asked, he sat in silence. The other 3 directions, the 4 remaining quarters, and the upper and lower regions were all like this. All the Brahmas scattered flowers, offered their palaces, and requested the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma, saying, "It is extremely difficult to meet a Bhagavat. We entreat you to open wide the gate to immortality and turn the wheel of the highest Dharma through your great compassion." The Bhagavat, having immeasurable wisdom, accepted their request and expounded various teachings, such as the 4 Noble Truths and the 12-linked chain of dependent origination, saying, "Beginning with ignorance and ending with old age and death, all these derive from birth. You should know about such miseries." When the Buddha expounded this teaching, 600 myriads of kotis of trillions of people attained the complete extinction of all suffering and became arhats. At the time of the second teaching, thousands of myriads of people, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, unattached to any existent thing, also attained arhatship. After that, an incalculable number of beings attained the path. Even if one were to count for myriads of kotis of kalpas, one could not finish counting their number. Then the 16 princes renounced household life and became Shramaneras. They all asked the Buddha to expound the teaching of the Mahāyāna, saying, "Let us and all of our attendants attain the Buddha path. We entreat you to let us obtain the Bhagavat's eye of wisdom, supreme in purity." The Buddha, knowing the minds of his children and their past conduct, taught the 6 perfections and various transcendent powers through incalculably numerous explanations and various illustrations. Explaining the true teaching and the path to be practiced by the bodhisattvas, he taught this Lotus Sutra in verses equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. After the Buddha taught this sutra, he entered meditation in a quiet place and sat with complete concentration in the same spot for 84,000 kalpas. Those Shramaneras, knowing that the Buddha had not arisen from meditation, taught the highest wisdom of the Buddhas to immeasurable kotis of beings. Each sat on the Dharma seat and explained this Mahāyāna Sutra. After the great parinirvana of that Buddha, they propagated the Dharma and inspired others. Each Shramanera saved 600 myriads of kotis of sentient beings, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. Those who heard the teaching after the Buddha's parinirvana were always born together with their teachers in various other Buddha lands. These 16 Shramaneras completely cultivated the Buddha path, and now in the 10 directions they have attained highest complete enlightenment. Then those who heard the Dharma in the presence of each of these Buddhas, and those who are in the Shravaka stage, will gradually be taught the Buddha path. I am one of the 16. I have also taught you in the past. Therefore, through skillful means, I now will also lead you to the goal which is the wisdom of the Buddhas. Through these former causes and conditions, I will now teach the Lotus Sutra, in order to let you enter the Buddha path. Do not be worried or frightened. Suppose there were a dangerous road in a deserted wasteland far away, where there are many harmful beasts. There is neither water nor grass. It is a fearful place for human beings. Innumerable thousands of myriads of beings wish to pass along this dangerous way, but that road is very long, some 500 yojanas. Then there is a leader endowed with deep wisdom and knowledge, discerning and resolute, who saves the people from various calamities when they meet with danger. The people all get tired and address the leader, saying, "We are all now totally exhausted. We want to turn back from here." The leader thinks these people are really to be pitied. How could they possibly want to return and lose the great treasure? He immediately thinks of skillful means and how he should now use his transcendent powers. And he makes a great apparitional city, with houses adorned and surrounded with gardens, moats, and ponds. There are fortified gates and tall towers, and it is full of men and women. When the apparition is complete, he immediately consoles the people, saying, "Do not be afraid. When you enter the city, you can each do as you please." All the people enter the city. They are very happy and feel at ease, thinking they have been saved. When the leader knows they are rested, he gathers them together and addresses them, saying, "You should now proceed, for this is just an apparitional city. Seeing that you were extremely fatigued, and that you wanted to turn back, after coming halfway, I made this apparitional city through skillful means. You should now strive to reach the treasure site together. I am exactly like this. I am the leader of all." Perceiving that those seeking the way have become timid, have stopped halfway, and are unable to walk to the end of the dangerous road of birth, death, and desire's confusion, I use skillful means and teach nirvana so that they may rest. You have extinguished suffering, and you have completed what must be done. Knowing that they have reached nirvana and attained arhatship, the Buddha immediately gathers the great assembly together and teaches the true Dharma. All the Buddhas explain and teach the three vehicles through skillful means. Although there is only the single Buddha vehicle, they teach two in order to provide a place of rest. For your benefit, I now teach the truth. What you have attained is not the ultimate goal. You must call forth great efforts in order to obtain the omniscience of a Buddha. If you attain omniscience and the qualities of the Buddha, such things as the 10 powers, and become endowed with the 32 marks, then you will have attained the ultimate goal. The Buddhas, the leaders, teach nirvana in order to let beings rest in comfort. When they know that they have rested, they lead them to the wisdom of the Buddhas. Chapter 8. The 500 disciples receive their predictions. At that time, Purna, the son of Maitrayani, after hearing the Buddha teach the Dharma according to what is appropriate to sentient beings through the wisdom of skillful means, and bestow the prediction of highest complete enlightenment on all the great disciples, and then hearing stories about past causes and conditions, and that all the Buddhas have obtained perfect mastery of transcendent powers, obtained an unprecedented experience, and became pure in mind and joyful. He immediately rose from his seat, went into the presence of the Buddha, bowed until his forehead touched the Buddha's feet, and then stood to one side, gazing unwaveringly at the Buddha, and thought this: "The Bhagavat is truly marvelous. His actions are rare. He teaches the Dharma according to the natural capacities of the beings in the world, through skillful means, wisdom, and insight. He leads sentient beings away from their various attachments. We have no words to describe the Buddha's qualities. Only the Buddha, the Bhagavat, is able to know our deep intentions and original vow. Then the Buddha addressed the monks, saying, "Do you see Purna, the son of Maitrayani? I always praise him as the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma. I also always praise his various qualities. He diligently maintains and propagates my teaching, and is able to gladden and benefit the fourfold assembly. He interprets the true Dharma of the Buddhas perfectly, and greatly benefits those who practice the pure path of discipline and integrity together with him. With the exception of the Tathagata, no one else explains the doctrine more eloquently." You must not think that Purna is only now able to protect and propagate my teaching. He also protected and propagated the true Dharma of the Buddhas in the presence of 90 kotis of Buddhas in the past, when he was always the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma. Moreover, he was completely versed in the teaching of emptiness that the Buddhas taught, and attained the fourfold unobstructed wisdom. He has always been able to teach the Dharma clearly and purely. He never had any doubts, and was endowed with the transcendent powers of the bodhisattvas. Throughout each life, he always practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity. The people who lived in the same Buddha world all thought he really was a Shravaka. Yet Purna benefited immeasurable hundreds of thousands of sentient beings through this skillful means, and also led and inspired immeasurable, incalculable numbers of beings, and caused them to attain highest complete enlightenment. In order to purify the Buddha land, he always did what the Buddhas have done, and led and inspired sentient beings. O monks, Purna also was able to become the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma under the past 7 Buddhas, and he is also the foremost of those who preach the Dharma under me. He will also be the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma under the future Buddhas in this auspicious kalpa. He will protect and propagate the Buddha Dharma, and also in the future he will protect and propagate the Dharma of incalculable, limitless Buddhas. He will lead, inspire, and benefit incalculable sentient beings, and cause them to attain highest complete enlightenment. In order to purify the Buddha lands, he will always be diligent and persevering, leading and inspiring sentient beings. He will gradually perfect the bodhisattva path, and after immeasurable, incalculable kalpas, he will attain highest complete enlightenment in this land. He will be called Dhamma Prabhasa, a Tathagata Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. That Buddha's land will consist of all the worlds in the great manifold cosmos, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. The earth will be made of the 7 treasures, and it will be level, just like the palm of one's hand. There will be no mountains, valleys, or hollow places. This land will be filled with towers of the 7 treasures. The heavenly palaces will be in the sky, close at hand, and the humans and devas will come and go between them, so that they will be able to see each other. There will be no troubled states of being, nor any women. All the sentient beings will be born here spontaneously, without any sexual desires. They will attain great transcendent powers, emit rays of light from their bodies, and fly freely through the air. These beings will be firm in recollection, persevering, and wise. They will all be of golden hue and adorned with the 32 marks. The sentient beings in that land will always eat 2 meals, one being the meal of delight in the Dharma, and the other the meal of pleasure in meditation. There will be immeasurable, incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of nayutas of bodhisattvas, who have attained great transcendent powers and the fourfold unobstructed wisdom. They will be able skillfully to lead and inspire sentient beings. The number of Shravakas there will be impossible to calculate. They will all perfect the 6 transcendent powers, the 3 sciences, and the 8 liberations. Such will be the immeasurable merits of this Buddha's land, being perfect in adornment. The Kalpa will be called Ratnavamasa, and this land will be called Suvisuta. This Buddha's lifespan will last for immeasurable, incalculable kalpas, and the Dharma will abide for a very long time. After the parinirvana of that Buddha, stupas of the 7 treasures will be erected everywhere throughout the land. Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. O monks, listen carefully. The path that the heir of the Buddhas has practiced by learning skillful means cannot be conceived. Because the bodhisattvas know that sentient beings long for inferior teachings and are afraid of great knowledge, they make themselves either Shravakas or Pracheka Buddhas. They inspire those sentient beings using innumerable skillful means, saying, "We are Shravakas, and still very far away from attaining the Buddha path." They save immeasurable sentient beings, all of whom they cause to attain perfection, and they even cause those who are lazy or have lowly intentions gradually to become Buddhas. These beings secretly carry out the bodhisattva practice while outwardly calling themselves Shravakas. Having little desire, their thoughts fixed on birth and death, they in fact purify the Buddha lands. These bodhisattvas show sentient beings that they have the 3 poisons. And further, they reveal the mark of false views. In this way, my disciples save sentient beings through skillful means. If I fully disclosed that they had taken on various forms, the sentient beings hearing this would immediately become doubtful. This Puna has now practiced the path under thousands of kotis of Buddhas in the past, and he has propagated and protected the teaching of these Buddhas. Seeking the highest wisdom under all these Buddhas, he showed that he was the foremost among the disciples, and that he was knowledgeable and wise. Fearless in his teaching, he was able to gladden the people. He never tired in performing the actions of a Buddha. He has already attained the great transcendental powers, and is endowed with the fourfold unobstructed wisdom. Knowing whether the faculties of sentient beings are sharp or dull, he always teaches the pure Dharma. Expounding such doctrines as these, he has taught thousands of kotis of beings, and by making them abide in the Mahāyāna teaching, he himself has purified his Buddha land. In the future, he will also pay homage to incalculable, innumerable Buddhas, protect and propagate the true Dharma, and also purify his Buddha land. He will always fearlessly teach the Dharma using his skillful means, save incalculable sentient beings, and enable them to achieve omniscience. Paying homage to all the Tathagatas, and preserving the treasure house of the Dharma, he will eventually become the Buddha called Dhamma Prabhasa. His land will be called Suvisuddha, which will consist of the 7 treasures. His kalpa will be called Ratnavamasa. There will be a large number of bodhisattvas there, numbering immeasurable kotis. His Buddha land will be filled with bodhisattvas who have attained great transcendent powers and are endowed with dignity. There will also be innumerable Shravakas who have perfected the 3 sciences, the 8 liberations, and the 4-fold unobstructed wisdom. Such beings as these will form the Sangha. The sentient beings in this land will have already cut themselves off from sexual desires. Everyone there will thus be pure and born spontaneously, with bodies adorned with the 32 marks. They will feast on, delight in the Dharma, and pleasure in meditation, never thinking of eating anything else. There will be neither women nor troubled states of existence. The qualities of the monk Purna will be completely perfected, and there will be many wise people in this pure land. I am now only briefly explaining these immeasurable things. Thereupon there were 1,200 arhats who had attained complete mental discipline, who thought this: we have joyfully attained an unprecedented experience. If the Bhagavat would give each of us a prediction like those he has given the other great disciples, we would be overjoyed. The Buddha, knowing their minds, addressed Mahakāshyapa, saying, I shall now bestow the prediction of highest complete enlightenment one by one on these 1,200 arhats who are in my presence. My great disciple, the monk Ajnata Kaundinya, who is in this assembly, will pay homage to 62,000 of kotis of Buddhas. He will thereafter become the Buddha called Samantaprabha, a Tathagata, arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavad. The 500 arhats, beginning with Uruvilva Kāshyapa, Gaya Kāshyapa, Nadi Kāshyapa, Kalodayin, Udayin, Aniruddha, Revata, Kapina, Bakura, Chunda, Svagata, and the others, will all attain highest complete enlightenment. They will all have the same name, that of Samantaprabha. Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The monk Kaundinya will meet immeasurable Buddhas, and after incalculable kalpas have passed, he will attain perfect enlightenment. He will always emit a great ray of light, and will be endowed with transcendent powers. His fame will spread universally throughout the 10 directions. He will be honored by all beings, and will always teach the highest path. He will therefore be called Samantaprabha. His land will be pure, and the bodhisattvas there will all be of great vigor. They will all ascend marvelous towers, and roam in the lands of the 10 directions. They will present the most excellent offerings to all of the Buddhas. After having shown their reverence in this way, they will be full of great joy, and immediately return to their own lands. Such will be their transcendent powers. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 60,000 kalpas, and the true Dharma will last twice as long as his lifespan. The semblance Dharma will last twice as long as this. When the Dharma disappears, the devas and humans will grieve. Those 500 monks will become Buddhas each in their turn, all having the same name, Samantaprabha. They will give predictions one after the other, saying, "After my parinirvana, so-and-so will become a Buddha. The world he inspires will be exactly like mine today. The embellishments of their lands, all the transcendent powers, the assembly of bodhisattvas and shravakas, the true and semblance dharma, the lifespan and duration of the kalpa, will be just as I explained before. O Kashyapa, you now know that the 500 arhats whose minds are free, and the remaining shravakas, will also be exactly like this. You should teach those who are not in this assembly." Thereupon, the 500 arhats, having obtained their predictions from the Buddha, were joyful and ecstatic. They rose from their seats, approached the Buddha, bowed until their foreheads touched his feet, repented of their faults, and reproached themselves, saying, "O Bhagavat, we have always thought we had attained complete nirvana. We now realize that we were ignorant. Why is this? We should have attained the wisdom of the Tathagatas, yet we were satisfied with little wisdom. O Bhagavat, suppose there were a man who came to the house of a close friend and went to sleep after becoming intoxicated with wine. The intimate friend, having to go out on official business, sews a priceless jewel into the inside of his friend's garment and, giving it to him, leaves. But the man who was drunk and asleep is totally unaware of this. After getting up, he leaves and roams around until he arrives in another country. Although he diligently seeks for food and clothing, they are very difficult to obtain. He is satisfied if he just obtains a very meager amount. Later on, the intimate friend happens to meet this man. Seeing him, he says, "O poor fellow, how have you come to this state through lack of food and clothing? Once on such and such a day, in such and such a month and year, I sewed a priceless jewel into the inside of your garment, wanting to make things easier for you, and to let you enjoy the desires of the 5 senses as much as you wished. It is still there, although you aren't aware of it, and you seek your livelihood with great effort and hardship. You have been very foolish. Sell this jewel and use it to buy what you need. From now on you will know neither poverty nor want, and can live as you wish." The Buddha is exactly like this. When he was a bodhisattva, he aroused in us the aspiration for omniscience. Nevertheless, we forgot. We did not know or understand. We attained the path of the arhats and considered that we had attained nirvana. It was very hard for us to support ourselves, and we were satisfied with little. But we never fully lost our wish for all knowledge. Now the Bhagavat, perceiving our minds, has said this: "O monks, what you have attained is not the complete nirvana. For a long time I have made you plant the various roots of good merit of a Buddha, and shown you the marks of nirvana through skillful means. That is why you consider yourselves to have actually attained nirvana. O Bhagavat, we now know that we are actually bodhisattvas and will obtain a prediction of highest complete enlightenment. For this reason, we are extremely happy at having obtained such an unprecedented experience." At that time, Ajñāta Kaundinya and the others, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. "We have heard his voice giving the prediction of utmost ease. Rejoicing in this unprecedented experience, we bow to the Buddha whose wisdom is immeasurable. We now repent of our faults in the presence of the Bhagavat. Although we had attained only a small measure of nirvana out of the immeasurable treasures of the Buddha, we were self-satisfied, just like ignorant fools. Suppose there were a poor man who went to the house of a close friend whose family was very wealthy. He was entertained with a feast and had a priceless jewel sewn to the inside of his garment. The wealthy friend made him this gift without saying anything and went away. The poor man had fallen asleep and did not know of this. Shortly afterward, this man gets up and after wandering around arrives in another country. He manages to seek out enough food and clothing to live, but has great difficulty in supporting himself. Yet he is satisfied to obtain a little, and does not desire anything better. He is still unaware of the priceless jewel sewn inside his garment. The intimate friend who gave him the jewel meets this poor man later, and bitterly reproaches him, showing him the jewel that had been sewn into his garment. The poor man, seeing this jewel, rejoices greatly, and with this rich treasure he enjoys to his satisfaction the desires of the five senses. We are exactly like this. For a long time the Bhagavat has led and inspired us through his compassion and planted in us the highest aspiration. Because we were ignorant, we neither noticed nor knew. We were satisfied with attaining only a small measure of nirvana and did not seek for the rest. Now the Buddha has enlightened us, saying, "This is not the real nirvana. Attaining the highest wisdom of the Buddhas is indeed the only real nirvana." Now, having heard the predictions from the Buddha, and of the adorned lands and the subsequent predictions, we universally rejoice in body and mind. Chapter 9. The predictions for those who still have more to learn, and for those who do not. At that time, Nanda and Rahula thought this: the delight we would feel if we were to receive our predictions is constantly before our minds. Then, arising from their seats and going into the presence of the Buddha, they bowed until their foreheads touched his feet, and spoke to him in unison, saying, "Bhagavat, we should also be qualified to receive our predictions. Both of us take refuge only in the Tathagata. Moreover, we are well known by the Devas, humans, and Asuras throughout the entire world. Ananda has always attended the Tathagata, preserving the treasure house of the Dharma, and Rahula is the son of the Buddha. If the Buddha would bestow upon us the prediction of highest complete enlightenment, then our vows would be fulfilled, and our wishes also realized." Then 2,000 disciples, Shravakas, some who still had more to learn, and some who did not, all arose from their seats, and with their right shoulders bared, went into the presence of the Buddha. Attentively, with palms pressed together, they gazed at the Bhagavat, all having the same wish as Ananda and Rahula, and stood to one side. Then the Buddha addressed Nanda, saying, "In the future world, you will become a Buddha called Sagara Dara Buddhi Vikri Kitara Jabija, a Tathagata Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. You will pay homage to 62 kotis of Buddhas, preserve the treasure house of the Dharma, and ultimately attain highest complete enlightenment. Further, you will inspire 20,000s of myriads of kotis of bodhisattvas, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, causing them to attain highest complete enlightenment. Your land will be called Avanamita Vaijanant. It will be pure, and the earth will be made of lapis lazuli. The kalpa will be called Manoja Sabda Bij Garjita. The lifespan of this Buddha will be for immeasurable, incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. Their number would be incalculable, even if one were to count for immeasurable, innumerable thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. The true Dharma will abide in the world twice as long as his lifespan, and the semblance Dharma will abide in the world twice as long as the true Dharma. O Nanda, the virtues of this Buddha, Sagaradhara, Buddhi, Vikri, Ditara, Jabija, will be praised by innumerable thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddha Tathagatas in the 10 directions, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. Thereupon the Tathagata, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. I now tell the assembly that Ananda, the preserver of the Dharma, will pay homage to the Buddhas and ultimately attain complete enlightenment. He will be called the Buddha Sagaradhara Buddhi Vikri Ditara Jabijna. His land will be pure and called Avanamita Vaijananta. He will lead and inspire bodhisattvas in numbers equal to the sands of the Ganges River. This Buddha will be endowed with great virtue and dignity, and his fame will fill the 10 directions. His lifespan will be immeasurable due to his compassion for sentient beings. The true Dharma will abide twice as long as his lifespan, and the semblance Dharma will abide twice as long as the true Dharma. Countless sentient beings within the Dharma of this Buddha, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, will plant the seed of the Buddha path. At that time, the 8,000 bodhisattvas in the assembly, in whom the thought of enlightenment, bodhicitta, had recently awakened, all thought this. Since we have never heard the great bodhisattvas receive predictions like this, why should the Shravakas now obtain it? Then the Bhagavat, knowing what the bodhisattvas were thinking, spoke to them, saying, O sons of a virtuous family, the thought of highest complete enlightenment once awoke simultaneously in Nanda and myself in the presence of the Buddha Dharmagaga Nyabudgataraja. Ananda always wanted to hear a great deal about the Dharma, and I always made diligent efforts. For this reason, I was shortly able to attain highest complete enlightenment, whereas Nanda preserves my teaching, and in the future will uphold the treasure house of the Dharma of all the Buddhas. He will lead, inspire, and perfect the bodhisattvas. Since this was his original vow, he has obtained this prediction. Ananda, while facing the Buddha in the audience, heard his own prediction and about the adornments of his land. His vow fulfilled, he rejoiced greatly at attaining such an unprecedented experience. With his unobstructed penetration, he immediately remembered the treasure house of the Dharma of the past immeasurable thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas, as if he had just heard of it today, and he also became aware of his original vow. Thereupon Ananda spoke these verses. The Bhagavat is truly extraordinary. He has enabled me to recollect the Dharma of incalculable numbers of Buddhas of the past, just as if I had first heard of the matter today. I now have no further doubts. I am established in the Buddha path. I have become an attendant of the Tathagata, and as an attendant, I will preserve the Dharma of all the Buddhas, using skillful means. Then the Buddha addressed Rahula, saying, in the future, you will become a Buddha called Saptaratna Padma Vikrama, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. You will pay homage to the Buddha Tathagatas, whose number is equal to that of the grains of dust in the 10 worlds, and you will always become the eldest son of all the Buddhas, just as you are my eldest son now. When I was a prince, Rahula was my eldest son, and now that I have perfected the Buddha path, he accepts my teaching as the heir of the Dharma. In the future, he will meet immeasurable kotis of Buddhas, becoming the eldest son of all these Buddhas. He will wholeheartedly seek the Buddha path. Only I am able to discern Rahula's unseen practice, but now that he has become my eldest son, he reveals it to the sentient beings. His thousands of myriads of kotis of merits are uncountable and incalculable. He will become established in the Buddha Dharma and seek the highest path. Then the Bhagavat perceived that the minds of those 2,000 people, some of whom had more to learn and some of whom did not, were sincere, mild, and receptive. They were all attentively gazing at the Buddha. The Buddha said to Ananda, do you not see these 2,000 people, some of whom have more to learn and some of whom do not? Ananda replied, yes, I see them. The Buddha said, O Nanda, all of these people will pay homage to the Buddha Tathagatas, whose number is equal to that of the grains of dust in 50 worlds. They will respect, honor, and preserve the treasure house of the Dharma, and will later all become Buddhas simultaneously in the worlds of the 10 directions. They will all have the same name, Ratna Keturja, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. Their lifespans will last 1 kalpa. The adornments of their lands, the number of Shravakas and Bodhisattvas, and the duration of the true and semblance Dharma will be the same for all. Thereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Now, in my presence, these 2,000 Shravakas have all received their predictions. In the future, they will all become Buddhas. The Buddhas they will revere will be equal to the number of grains of dust, just as mentioned above. Preserving this treasure house of the Dharma, they will later attain complete enlightenment. They will all have the same name, and dwell in the lands of the 10 directions. All sitting at the exact same time on the terrace of enlightenment, they will attain the highest wisdom. All of them will be called Ratna Ketu Raja. Their lands, the number of disciples, duration of the true and semblance Dharma will all be the same without any difference. Moreover, through their transcendent powers, they will save sentient beings throughout the 10 directions. Their fame will spread universally, and they will gradually enter nirvana. Then the 2,000 people, some of whom had more to learn and some of whom did not, having heard their predictions from the Buddha, rejoiced ecstatically and spoke in verse. O Bhagavat, the light of wisdom, we have just heard you give us our predictions, and our minds are full of joy, just as if we had been sprinkled with the Dharma of immortality.